Let's go. Hello.
Hello and welcome to OK Listen podcast with myself, Scott Mills, and Petra Aberley.
Yeah, I love how you always introduce me just by my name and you just carry on. I don't have time to be just like, hi,
Well,
I'm here. To be honest,
did.
Yeah, that's true.
So, anyway. This week is my lead topic, and I'm taking the reins from Petra's episode on attachment theories last week. And this week, I'm going to focus on something that is very prominent in my life and probably a lot of other people's lives. And that is imposter syndrome. That feeling of not feeling good enough, or that you're not meant to be there. And there's way more feelings you get with this sort of type of anxiety, I'd call it.
Yeah, well, I think anxiety is like a side effect of imposter syndrome, or the other way around.
Well, I've got the dictionary definition.
You've got the ins and the outs.
Fear not, guys.
Educate me.
Anyway, imposter syndrome dictionary definition is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills.
What does it mean?
Well, basically, it means that you never believe in your own ability to, so say, I'll give you an example, actually, my life, which is quite recent. So basically, I do a lot of camera work and editing, and this is something that's quite prominent, as you'll know. Anxiety and imposter syndrome actually work very closely together, and it starts my anxiety up, because I feel like a job that I've done since I left uni in 2015, I always doubt myself. Every week I am asked to go out and film, and that is a sign of imposter syndrome. I've done it many times before, but every time I actually get something good or it goes well, I always feel like, oh, thank God that's over, or it was luck.
Yeah.
It's never me being good enough or me having those skills to finish that job.
It's not even just the luck. Now that I think about it, for me personally, it's mostly like, oh, I tricked people. Great. Like this kind of like fake it until you make it. Yeah. Like I don't believe that I'm doing the job that I'm doing. And I think that everyone is just fooled and just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, and it's not just us. According to the National Institute of Health, up to 82% of people experience a type of imposter syndrome in their life. And that although it's not a recognised disorder, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders estimate around 70% of people experience at least one episode in their life. And that is a very high percentage. And the reason why I brought up those two statistics were because I was speaking to a friend this morning, Joey O'Hagan, the big man, Preston North End hooligan, and he was saying something that I've experienced in my life, and I'm sure many listeners have, is that feeling of when you're going for a job or you've just got a new job, and you get there, and this is why I brought it up, because I recognise this in you when you got your job for the first time as a sort of designer, and you were like, what happens if, they find me out as a fraud, I'm not good enough, and all these negative thoughts, whereas you've got the skills and everything, but you're fueled by a fear and a lot of self-doubt about yourself, and that overrules, what you're actually good at.
Listen, I watched all nine seasons of Suits. Being scared to be found out as a fraud, it's root in watching. No, I'm just kidding. But I know what you mean. Yeah, definitely.
And there are several. So hold on. I'm just going to backtrack here. So your whole, life motto.
Have you seen Suits?
No, I haven't.
Oh right. So basically, Mike Ross, which is the main person.
Is this Meghan Markle's?
Yeah, Meghan Markle is a paralegal.
Side piece.
Yes, so Meghan Markle is the paralegal. Then Harvey Specter is the main character. He's the lawyer, and then Mike Ross, who is Meghan's boyfriend and husband in the series, he pretends to be a lawyer, and obviously it's illegal to practice law, and he's a fraud, and that's basically what the whole
got you, but this is slightly different.
I know. I just said about being
the skills, and it's not illegal.
And he has the skills. Yeah, it's not illegal. That's true. So, and people know that I never studied this, but still.
Yeah, but you self-taught yourself.
Yeah. But what I mean is, it's in my head, this like, oh, I can't call myself a designer, I didn't study this. Like, people find out.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that is imposter syndrome. That is, so there are several types of imposter syndrome, and some of the traits actually include the inability to realistically assess your competence and skills, berating your performance, attributing success to external factors. A lot of this is what I actually still do. Overachieving, a fear that you won't live up to expectation, and then you sabotage your own success. Self-doubt, and setting very challenging goals and feel disappointed when you don't achieve them, when you just fall short. I reckon I do all of those, and I think a lot of other people do. And it's something that actually, along with anxiety, this is probably the biggest mental health barrier that I've got in my life. And the reason why I say that is because all of those traits that I've just listed there, I constantly do every day when, choosing my path for my future or something I enjoy. Could be anything. So I often, in sport, break my own performance of things being not good enough. I set myself goals that take years to achieve, but I expect to achieve them within months.
Yeah.
And I also often, when people say that was really good, I often downplay it because I don't want it to come across as arrogant or, because sometimes it's just, I do feel like it. But I was just about to say it then. Sometimes it's just luck. I was literally about to say that. And that is one trait.
Yeah.
And I always say that about anything that I do well. I always say it's down to luck. Like, an example was with work, we went on a recent training day, and one of the activities we did was clay pigeon shooting.
Yeah.
And I managed to hit 20 times out of 28, which was the joint highest out of the group. But I think I actually quite enjoyed it, whereas I was really anxious before, and I just said it was luck, whereas I was actually listening to the instructor and practicing everything he told me. So I think it was just more of a skill than luck, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's very interesting because I personally don't have the kind of, when someone compliments my work, I don't have like, oh, it was just luck. Like, I know, but at the same time, I compare my work to others, and then if I downplay it, it's because I genuinely believe it's not good. So I'm just like, oh yeah, but it could be better. And then that's the worst thing, isn't it? Because you start pointing out things that they would never actually see, and then they're like, oh, they wouldn't still say it to your face, but then you point out things and just make it apparent for them. They would have never known.
Before they,
they would never know.
I always start going, if I've done an edit or something, I'm always like, this has done this and this has done this way, and just because I know what's going to come, and it's actually, there's something on this which I'm about to say in a bit. You actually become sensitive to even constructive criticism. Yeah, you are really why in that case, people probably do that, where they start telling people, well, it wasn't right, it wasn't this, because they're already anticipating criticism, which they know they'll, even if it's positive or whatever, like positively constructed, is what I mean. Like, so there's, constructive.
It's really interesting because I had something similar back in the day, and it was not necessarily pointing out things, but like predicting what other people will point out, in a sense of, like, for example, when I was running campaigns, when I was putting together a message on Slack to someone saying like, oh, I put this live for a campaign, right? I already tried to anticipate all the questions and reply to them in the message before they even asked them, because I really, really hated for them to come back with the questions that I already thought of, but I didn't think to I knew about them, and
it's like you feel stupid.
Exactly. I'm just like, they need to know that I know about this. Like, they need to know I'm not stupid, because then they're gonna think that I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be in this job. It's just crazy.
And furthermore to that, actually, and this is something that I actually recognise with you quite a bit, is...
Oh God, here we go.
I'm not laying into it, I promise.
Here we go.
Is that having a type of imposter syndrome can actually increase motivation, but at the price of anxiety.
Oh, interesting.
So, although you feel super motivated, and the reason why I said this reminds me of you is because you take on a lot of like your side projects or your work or gym or whatever it is, and then you try and cram it all in, but in the end it makes you so anxious that you procrastinate, and then you sort of leave it later, then you end up working right until like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why you're knackered the next day.
Yeah. That checks out.
And so, although you're really motivated when you've got your tunes on, Petra's a massive fan of Will Young. So she puts a bit of Will Young, Gareth Gates on.
Who's that?
Brit pop legends.
All right, sure. Mm-hmm.
And she just gets really motivated to work.
Yeah, that's definitely
And
my
then
playlist.
it's like 2 a.m.
Oh no, my playlist is actually Austropop, so Austrian pop.
Yeah.
Love a good, tune about Wurst and Schnitzel.
Yeah. Anyway, the main point I'm trying to highlight here is the fact that you have this trait of imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah.
And it's quite weekly, because although you're really motivated and you get a lot done, your anxiety about that motivation kind of pushes it sometimes further than it needs. So perfectionism is one of the types of imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
A perfectionist is a type. And that is obviously, you're so fixated on your flaws, you don't focus on the strengths.
Interesting. Okay.
Because you want everything to be perfect.
Yeah, well, okay. I think I have it a bit different. What I mean by that, for example, I'm currently, I've been kind of putting off creating the brand for my company.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because I'm trying to predict so far into the future what the company is going to be, to make it relatable, make it this and this and this. And I'm making it such a big task that I just don't even start.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, it's going to be...
That, again, is paired with anxiety.
It is paired with... Oh, it's constantly on your mind.
So that, like I said earlier, makes a bit of sense.
That makes sense, yeah. It does make sense, yeah.
And the other types are soloist, which is you prefer to work alone in fear of appearing weak or incompetent, which I do see with you a bit as well. Sometimes, where you don't feel like you don't want to ask the questions.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, you go either way. You ask too many questions, or you don't want to. I remember when because you were again, fraud, the imposter syndrome of thinking you're a fraud.
Yeah.
You had that thing when you joined, because you're self-taught and everything, you didn't go and study it. You were you don't want to ask these questions because you're going to be found out. And I remember you saying that when you started your job.
That's true. Kind of like the skills that I should have, what I think I should have.
Yeah.
From the background that I should have if I would have studied it. And I would rather, and again, you're right, it's very anxiety, because I just I remember when I started my job at VML, so that was my first design job as a product designer. And I remember they gave me kind of the list of all the softwares that we will be using. And even though I never used them in my life, those were things, like project management and handovers like Zeppelin and stuff. So nothing really designer stuff. It was more engineer stuff. So it's fine if you don't know about these things, right? But my first instinct was actually I scheduled in times where I watched YouTube videos on these softwares, because I wouldn't admit that I don't know what they do and ask how to use them. I would rather teach myself again than to ask. Because I was in my probation first job and everything, and I was just I just can't admit that I don't know these things, because maybe I should know them, which is just bullshit.
Because it's so many systems as well.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's just probably, 100%. I don't think even the top professionals know every in and out of every system.
No, and it's absolutely fine. You learn it while you use it. So, but that was I see your point.
And the other ones are expert, who is never satisfied with what they know, so they constantly have this urge to find out more, because they never know it all. Then,
I know everything, so it's fine.
Not me. There you go. So she says. Then there's a natural genius. So because you claimed expert, you're not. You can't claim this one. Which is, you set high goals and then you're crushed when you don't meet them. And then finally, the last type of imposter syndrome is superhero, where you overwork to make up for feeling inadequate.
That's you.
Yes, I was going to say that. I literally do so much because I'm
You're not just you.
I overcompensate.
You feel like you need to overcompensate. For example, sometimes Scott says, "Hope I'm not incriminating you here," but sometimes he just
No, you've already done it. I'm leaving. Where's my car?
He's on the weekend. He's "Oh, I really want to start now to get ahead for the week," and I'm on the weekend. Or he's "Oh, I really want to start wake up really early and start at 6 a.m. on a Monday." And I was "What for?" Like, you're not supposed to work outside, because one piece of really good advice that I got in my first job was, you know how we kind of make it seem so luxurious when you're working longer hours, even more so in London. Like, in London I really feel it, of just like people are bragging about working longer than they should, and on the weekends and stuff, even more so before the pandemic. And the good piece of advice that I got was, if you can't do your job within the hours, that just shows that you don't know how to time manage. So
I think that's a society problem, to be honest, because I think that there's this thing ingrained in everyone now where you're glorified for working overtime without any individual gain.
Yeah, used to be.
And
I don't think it's anymore.
You sacrifice. I think, to be honest, the pandemic has helped out a lot in this, where flexible working has benefited both. Because I feel like there's been an increase in productivity personally, especially for like myself. And also with the flexibility, there is that less element of sticking around in the office for hours upon end every day, often at the sacrifice of your social life or your things outside of work. Yeah.
And kind of showing other people that you can stay, and you're dedicated by a
just
loyal.
Just to get that pay rise or whatever that probably won't ever come.
Yeah, and some jobs, again,
sorry to be negative, but some people do take it that weakness.
Exactly.
And run to the hills of it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as I said, my situation, I was literally told that if I stay longer, it just shows that I can't manage my tasks properly.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's
true.
I
like that. Seems, on the money.
Yeah.
And actually, again, similar to last week with attachment theories, this sort of anxiety paired with imposter syndrome. I like saying anxiety because obviously I'm speaking from my personal experience, and that has all often come hand in hand with imposter syndrome. It's caused by the following: family upbringing, where parenting styles are characterised by controlling or being overprotective of the child, may come from the family that flipped back and forth between praise and critique. So like a high level family conflict.
Me.
A high level family conflict with a low amount of support is more likely to experience this type of imposter syndrome. So that's the whole, maybe your parents were arguing and then you're like, oh, look what I did here. Really proud of something, and they'd be like, either ignore it or would be very little praise. Yeah. And often you'd get a lot of critique. Mm-hmm. Like, Petra, don't do that. Yeah. Don't not tie up your Reebok classics.
So then so what would you say was your cause?
I'll read them all out and then I'll tell you about myself.
Okay.
The next one was, obviously, this is the sort of one that I think majority, in that 82% get, which is work and new opportunities. So it's that whole thing of wanting to impress and worried that you won't be able to meet the standards, which I feel like is a less, that's more of a, not as deeply rooted as a family upbringing. Yeah. I think that one's more of a sort of one that everyone gets. Yeah. Personally.
But you have it even beyond being new at the company.
Yes. Yeah, Petra's jumping the gun as usual. Here she goes. Soon she's going to come at me with the questions.
I told you that I know everything, so have
she's
to
the
prove
natural
myself.
Genius.
I'm a natural genius.
The next one, which this is where I think is me, is personality.
just in general.
No.
Just personality.
Because it's got low self-efficacy, which is the belief in ability to succeed in any situation, which I often have. Okay. Perfectionism.
Right.
And neuroticism, which is the big 5 personalities which are linked to anxiety, tension, guilt and insecurity. And the reason why I think this is me is because I often literally, self-belief at times is literally not very good. Yeah. And I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about the whole of my life.
Yeah, but that's why I'm asking, like, what do you think it's coming from?
And then...
Or where do you think it's coming from?
I just think it's from perfectionism.
Oh, got it.
Where nothing's ever been good enough. Which, in the first episode, I highlighted my sort of bout of depression, and where I was asking questions like, what is the point of life? Because nothing's ever sort of good enough. And that's literally been my outlook with everything. Yeah. Unless it's like 100% perfect, the best.
But there's not... there's no such thing, and this is a pet talk earlier in the episode.
Oh God, no.
Nothing is ever perfect, because the thing is, we set our goals, then we work our way, like we work towards these goals, whether they take a day, whether they take a year or even longer. On the way towards the goal, so let's say if they take longer, we could completely change our mind, change our priorities, change our goals. So you've been working towards this something, unhappy along the way because you think you will only be happy when you reach the goal, and then you just change your mind, right? I think I always compare it to like body image. Let's say someone wants to lose some weight and they are like, I'm not going to get any new clothes, I'm not going to really take care of myself, in the sense of like, this is just a journey, I'm only going to be happy when I lose 10 kilos or something. I'm going to be happy then.
And then you're never happy because you don't enjoy the diet. So.
You don't enjoy it. It can take so long to lose that weight. You're not going to properly take care of yourself. And at the end of the day, maybe your circumstances change and you will never reach that point, and you've been unhappy for months on end. But I think it's the same with like, what's perfect? Like, it could, you can't measure it.
But that's the thing, you can't measure it.
You can't measure it. And let's say
people who are at the top of their profession even probably feel like there's bits they can improve on.
But the thing is, like, look at it from a different perspective. You could genuinely reach that, what you once thought was perfection. You could reach that point, but at that time when you reach it, you're already striving for something more. It's the same, like, you want more money, you get there, you want more again. Yeah. Like, it's never enough.
Well, it's like that whole, I forgot the word it's called, but that lifestyle, when people are like, oh, won't they get bored with that amount of money? But people, they spend it on their means, and then that lifestyle becomes boring because they want something else. Yeah,
you adjust your lifestyle so that it's never really enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like you need luxuries in your life, but because you adjust, whether you start, shopping at bloody Trader Joe's, I think it's called, spending so much money, and all of a sudden your bill is so much higher. So obviously you need to earn even more.
Never heard of Trader Joe's, but really? I'm taking your word for it. It's
like a really hipster. Well, I'm not gonna call it hipster
vibes.
But like a really organic shop, like M&S, but even higher.
Yeah, I feel you.
Trader Joe's. How do you not know about this? You've been to America.
But
I haven't.
Lastly is social anxiety, which I think is quite self-explanatory. When people in social situations get anxious, like small talk and meeting new people. Yeah. And that's also another thing of, I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So, and if any of you are wondering how to cope with these, obviously you can always get help. There are always ways to help you through majority of things these days, but the best things are to share your feelings, whether it be with family members or friends or whoever you want to reach out to. Assess your abilities fairly, focus on others, and this isn't, oh God, look what they're doing. This is help them with their insecurities. So if you see someone who might be struggling, or even if they don't look like they're struggling, just reach out to them, because then helping people with theirs may make you feel like, oh, it's not just me, other people are. I'm not normal, or whatever you feel about yourself because of these feelings that arise. So it can have that effect if you help others as well. It can help you through your hard time, helping others through theirs.
However, I'm going to undermine this whole podcast. No unsolicited advices. If no one asks you for help and they are not showing signs of struggle, just leave them be. They're okay. You know what I mean? Imagine that you're just living your life and one of your friends come and like, listen.
Whoa, is this the pet talk?
No. But imagine someone comes up to you, just messages you on Instagram being just like, listen, you look really sad. Are you depressed? Do you want some help?
No, I don't mean like that. I mean like, so I've seen you like, oh, hey Petra, how are you?
Right,
how
okay.
have you been? Is everyone, let's grab a coffee.
Got it.
Not like, oh my God, you look like...
No, but
you look like a slapped arse. Like, do you know what I mean? Not like that.
I mean, you do.
I know, I do. It's all those, sleepless nights.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh God, I've got to speak to Petra tomorrow. No, I take that back. I love her already. So. And then the other ones, back on topic, is you question your thoughts. So question them negative thoughts. They're not real.
No.
They're there as a sort of, as Petra mentioned in the last episode, the fight or flight. They sense something that you might put you out your comfort zone. So they raise cortisol levels, and it's all to do with that sort of innate ability when it's not real. It's not a real fear. Unless you're being chased by a lion, or there's a near-death experience, it's not real.
Yeah. Be reflective.
Yeah. Take baby steps, which is something Petra loves to do. Take little steps to your goals.
Mm-hmm.
So say if you've got, don't try and eat the cake whole. Take little bits at a time, and then eventually you'll conquer it.
Yeah, it's so much easier. I'm gonna go back to the example with the branding. It's so much easier because it feels like such a big task. It's really easy, or much easier, to sit down and say, okay, I'm just gonna literally just put together a Pinterest board. That's like the first step, and it doesn't take long. And once you're in the flow, maybe you're gonna continue, maybe you're not. But at the same time, the next time you think like, oh, I need to sit down to do this, like, oh, actually, I've already defined what I'm going for. Or, for example, what I did, I just put together the color palette, even though I'm not happy with it just yet. The perfectionist in me is coming out. But at the same time, the next time I'm going to sit down, I'm going to be like, actually, I already have this. So the next step is going to be maybe defining typography. Just baby steps.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
And the other ones, which are quite closely linked, and I think this is a major hurdle in society these days, is stop comparing yourself and use social media morally. And I feel like in society these days, everyone's constantly comparing themselves to fake pictures. Pictures that aren't real, have been edited heavily.
Yeah.
This lifestyle that people pretend to have.
Yeah.
It's just unhealthy. I think it creates an unhealthy image. So you've got to focus on yourself. And once you focus on yourself, you'll feel happier.
Yeah. It's such a... Social media is a highlight reel, isn't it? And I mean, everyone's different. For me personally, I don't really care about what people look like, but I more care about their career progression, and I compare myself to where they are in life. And that makes me kind of, questioning my path and the pace.
Yeah.
Which is silly because everyone has their own pace, and that's absolutely fine. But yeah, it's just seeing kind of these people being so successful at such a young age, and then you feel like, even if you start something, because obviously it's a great thing if you've started something for yourself because you love it, but seeing these things push you to go faster and to do it quicker, do more, because it's just, you want to get there, wherever there is, tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to say, like Petra just shared there, I've also been quite guilty of this where body image is concerned, especially with men. I feel like women obviously have the pressure as well, but I'm just speaking from personal, I feel like men now have had, well, I'm not sure it's so much now, but with like your Love Island and everything like that, I feel like there's this image that men need to have to feel attractive or good in themselves or whatever, which is, your washboard abs, your men's health look, which is probably edited on the front cover of a magazine.
Yeah.
But and also because you follow so many athletes, you're constantly exposed to that. So your mind starts to change when you don't look like that, which, remember, is their profession. That's what they do as a living, which is something you said a while back. And that can also, who you follow and things, that can also have a big impact subconsciously on how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
Because you are subconsciously comparing.
Yeah. Definitely.
Even like I just said, say if you're following loads of like footballers who are all ripped or whatever, then it's like, because that's what they get paid to do.
Exactly.
Whereas you're trying to maintain a job, probably, Petra doesn't like to call it this, a side hustle.
Yeah. We're not hustling.
Yeah. Your side, job.
Yeah.
Or your side venture, whatever you want to call it. And, they're just, so you can't compare, you're in completely different situations.
Exactly, because if you think about it, what they are doing, as you said, they are getting paid to, not to look like that, some people do, but they are paid to do these things, whereas you have to do your normal job plus workout when it comes to, obviously, working out. So, their whole performance is actually built on the training and everything like that, whereas you do it for yourself, for your physique and for your health, but that is on top of everything else, which is mainly to earn money to survive, basically. Which for them is combined. So it's the same I don't know, I always think about it, don't get me wrong, I know exactly that being a trainer is not easy at all, but being like for example, a spin instructor, like my friend, she gets her workout in while she's earning money, basically. I know it's not as black and white, and I know it's not easy, but at the same time, you get those things done at the same time, so it's not like you have...
two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
And then before we wrap up with a pet talk, I'm just going to give you the last one on how to cope, and that is the biggest, in my opinion. Refuse to let it hold you back. One of the most courageous and positive steps you can do is feel that sort of anxiety or that feeling or that thought and push through it anyway, because you'll feel 10 times better after. And also, like you talk about little baby steps, that's a small victory.
Yeah, it is.
So I feel like that is the right place for a pet talk.
Okay. Let me address this one to you, actually.
Yeah.
Because we've had these conversations, and I think this is really your topic. So I think you need to take your own advice, because you do have these... Oh, so I didn't say, okay, listen. But anyway, you do have these thoughts. But the thing is, when you are in a calm state, when you're not caught up in your head, you are aware of these things. The thing is, you get yourself in that state of mind, and it's so hard to snap out of it. And it doesn't matter, even if I try to help you, anyone else, doesn't matter, because you are so stubborn in those situations, which is understandable, like it's fine, but you're so stubborn in those situations that you just cannot snap out of it. And unfortunately, it can rub off negatively on your surroundings, because we are trying to help you and everyone else in these situations. And again, I'm in the same situation, so it's not like, I'm God Almighty. I mean, I do think that.
She does think she's a natural genius.
So I think it might be really worth for people who find it really hard to be reflective in those situations, or to snap out of it and think about what they're thinking, to find a coping mechanism, maybe a physical one. So for example, and I know this is not really comparable, but I know there are a lot of mental health institutes, what they do or advise you to do is have like a hair tie around your wrist.
Yes, yeah.
And then you snap it.
Yeah.
So it snaps you out, so the pain kind of snaps you out of it. Now, obviously not everyone can do it, but maybe there are some things that can help you do those things. And I think
you got to find your thing, haven't you?
Yeah, and I mean, if you are strong enough, in your mind to do it actually mentally and not physically, what I tend to do is talk to myself in third person. So, for example, if there's something, I'm going to be like, okay, Petra, calm down. Calm down. Is it really
listen.
Okay, listen. Is it really that bad? No, it's not. We're fine. We're fine. Okay, breathe. We're okay. And I kind of talk to myself this way. Or, for example, for me, one of the biggest things was body image. And it took me, I remember this was like 2-3 years ago. I remember when I first discovered Lizzo, actually. She's really body positive, right? And I was looking in the mirror. And I remember just looking at myself being just like, I would really love to love myself that way. I just don't know how people get there. Like, it just doesn't make sense to be like, do you just wake up? And I didn't understand. And you know me now that I'm exactly like I am there, kind of being really positive about these things. So it's just kind of constantly reminding yourself and being
Working
like
on
affirmations.
it.
Yeah, working on it. And even if it feels, and a lot of people say, and it's true, it feels ridiculous in the moment, in the beginning. Like, even if you have to kind of lie to yourself, you're going to get used to it. And it's not like you're going to keep lying yourself and you'll just believe it, because it's not like fake it until you make it. It's more just training your mind to actually believe what you're saying, but in a good way, because you know it's true. So, yeah, you just have to find those things that make you snap out of it and believe in yourself.
And that's our pet talk for today.
That's your
inspiration.
pet talk. Not just everyone's.
All of ours.
But mainly Scott's.
Yeah, I drew a lot from that. I was quite inspired.
There you go. I'm going to get you a hairband now.
Yeah.
Like a scrunchie.
Yeah, let's do it. Pink and fluffy.
Yes.
Love that. Right, guys, we'll see you next week for a new episode.
Yeah. Goodbye.